Recording. Okay, cool. So hello everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming to this panel, and especially thank to all of the panelists for coming out here. And so just to start the ball rolling, I have some prepared questions, but afterwards, if anyone has their own questions that they would like to ask anyone in particular or any other questions, then just feel free to message me in the chat and then I can compile those questions. And just so we know who is speaking today, I want the panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves. And let me just drop in the chat what the list of things you can mention. So go through your name, your major, your graduating class, which college you attend or attended, and maybe one or two clubs that you're involved with, and a job if you've already graduated. So I can just call someone out and then they can just pass it on to someone else, or if anyone else wants to speak, then just go ahead, okay? Let's start with Melody, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So my name is Melody. My major is data theory, which is essentially math and statistics. And I'm part of the graduating class of 2024. I go to UCLA, and some of the things I'm involved in at UCLA is the Christian Fellowship on campus, as well as this club called Explore Tech LA. We work to create an event to inspire students from underserved communities in LA to explore tech disciplines. And I'm not graduated, so no job.
All right, thank you, Melody. Let's move on to Amy.
Hi, my name is Amy. I'm studying economics at Harvard and I'm class of 2025, so I'm a rising junior. On campus, I'm involved with citizenship tutoring as well as volunteering at our student-run homeless shelter, and I do not have a job yet.
All right, Dan.
Hey guys, my name is Daniel. I am out of college now, but I went to the University of Texas in Austin. For my undergrad, I did a CS major there, computer science. And yeah, now I've been working for 2 years. I'm a software engineer at a small trading shop in Chicago. And yeah.
All right, let's go to Claire.
Hi guys, I'm Claire. I study finance and marketing right now within business school. I'm about to be a senior, so class of 2024 at the University of Pennsylvania. At school, I'm involved in mostly pre-professional clubs, so like a consulting case team that travels a lot, and also an Asian sorority, so if you're interested in Greek life. And then out of college, I'll be working at a hedge fund, so kind of like an investing type role.
Cool, thank you. Let's go to Will.
Hey everyone, my name is Will. I graduated this past spring with my bachelor's in material science and engineering. Some activities that I'm involved in or was involved in was Eclectics, which is a dance team on campus, as well as a professional business fraternity. And I'll be pursuing my master's this coming fall in engineering management at Johns Hopkins.
Awesome. Miranda?
Hi everyone, I'm Miranda. I am a incoming senior at the University of Maryland, majoring in computer science, and I'm involved in Hack for Impact on campus. It's like nonprofit, creating like projects for nonprofits, like software, and then so it's like volunteering. And then I'm also in club tennis. And I don't have a job, or I did not graduate yet, but I guess I did an internship at Audible this summer. It's like the audiobook company. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that is all the panelists who have arrived so far. And if anyone trickles in, we'll just go ahead and introduce them real quick. So let's get started on the first question, which is, how did you find a community in college? And for panelists, you can just go ahead and unmute and speak up, or you can raise your hand, whatever works for you.
I guess I can start. So I'm class of 2024, so our first year was actually over Zoom. So obviously that was very different compared to the normal college experience in terms of finding communities, getting to know people. However, like it was a blessing in disguise because over Zoom I got to know some people pretty close just through some classes, plotting with people to just do homework together, as well as joining some clubs and getting to know people through those. And through my whole Zoom college experience, I actually met the people that I chose to room for my next year in college. So the next year in college was in person. And this was really a good opportunity for me to just be able to meet everyone that I had developed relationships over Zoom in person. I think that provided a good base in getting to know people and developing that community. I think getting involved in clubs. So in colleges, like you'll meet people in classes and stuff, but for me, like one of the places that I really found my closest community in college is actually the Christian fellowship that I'm part of. So just joining the student organizations and getting to know people through those just really helps you develop a solid base of people that you know and people that you can call friends and can rely on in college. So yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing, Melody. We really appreciate your insight. I see that Caleb just joined, so we'll introduce him and then we'll also introduce Ethan. He just came back from China, but he so graciously volunteered. So I'm really happy to have his expertise as well. So let's start off with Caleb. Would you like to introduce yourself? Let me just drop in the list of things you should go over in the chat again so you can see that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Susan. Yeah, I apologize. I had some technical difficulties, but everything's all good now. But my name is Caleb. I am a rising senior at the University of Pittsburgh, majoring in computer science and minoring in business. Some activities I was involved in, or right now, I'm part of the computer science club at Pitt, as well as a Christian fellowship called Asian Christian Fellowship. And I currently don't have a job right now, but I have interned at United Health last summer, and I just finished my internship at BlackRock as a software engineer intern. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this panel.
Awesome. Thank you, Caleb. Ethan?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Ethan. I'm a graduate last year in the fall as a CS major, and then this year as a master's in CS also. And on campus, I participated in a few clubs like HackQT, which held some of the hackathons on campus, as well as I was involved in research and studying abroad this past summer. So if you have any questions about those, I'd be happy to answer. And this coming winter, I'll be starting a job at Amazon, and that's also the company where I've interned.
Cool, thank you, Ethan. And I can also introduce myself since I realized I didn't do that. Hi, I'm Susan. I was a computer science and math double degree student at the University of Maryland, and I just graduated this past May. Last summer, I interned at Facebook, and now I'm a full-time software engineer at Atlassian. So I'm just based out of Cambridge, and I was a TA. I was involved in a Christian fellowship called Asian American InterVarsity, and I was also one of the competitive chairs on our gaming club at college. So yeah, we can continue on with the question that we were on before, which was how did you find a community in college? Let's try to get at least one more response.
I can go. For me, like Claire, I joined an Asian sorority on campus, and I think that helped a lot in connecting with the other Asian American girls on campus, especially when you first come to college and you don't really know anyone. It's nice to be connected to people who look like you. And besides that, I've found a lot of people through just working with different groups in my classes.
All right, thank you, Amy. Um, if no one else would like to respond, I'm just going to go ahead and move on to another question. So let's go with something more related to academics. So did you ever change your major and why? And what was that process like? I can just get started if no one else wants to respond. So originally I came into college as a math major, and then I had a lot of friends who were CS majors, and I had been interested in coding after taking a coding class in high school. So then I just went ahead, tried to figure out what the process was for changing my major. Well, actually not changing my major, adding another major. And I just had to complete one more class, and then I just went ahead and added CS as a double major. All right, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, well, so I actually didn't change my major, but I can kind of talk about like I guess changing career trajectory kind of over the course of college. So during like my first 2 years, I was pretty involved in research. And during that time, I really thought that I wanted to get a PhD in material science or something related. And my research focus were in renewable energy technology. And that's still an area that I'm interested in, but I've been kind of shifting away from doing research. And, as my like graduate program indicates, I'm not really interested in, just doing research moving forward. So like kind of how that shift happened was I did an internship at the Department of Energy and I was working on some technology commercialization work there. So that kind of reoriented me into like kind of considering the other possibilities there are.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a major change. If anyone had a change in what they thought they wanted to do, that would be a good thing to talk about as well.
I can talk a little bit. During my whole season, like applying to colleges and entering to UCLA, I thought I wanted to be pre-med. So I came in as a biochemistry degree. But during the pandemic, I was having a lot of like different thoughts. Especially with all the doctors in the front lines and stuff, I realized how much of a difficult career it was and um, decided that it wasn't for me. So I've always enjoyed statistics class in high school. So that's why decided to change my major to stats during my freshman year of college. So this is like literally right when I came in. I changed my major at orientation. And the process is like pretty easy to change your major, at least for UCLA. As long as it's within the same school, you could kind of switch around as long as you make the specific requirements. But freshman year is a really big time to just kind of figure out what you want to do and what majors you want to do. So there's definitely a lot of freedom to do that. You don't have to be decided on a career trajectory like during your freshman year or like in high school, etc. So yeah.
Cool, thank you, Melody. It's great to see how you can enter in college with an open mind and maybe you really think you want to do something, but something in college might change you and you want to do something else, and that's totally okay. All right, let's move on to another question. What is something you wish you had done before college or in your first year of college?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, what is something you wish you had done before college or in your first year? And I'm just gonna drop that in the chat as well. Oh, Claire, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I feel like going into college, or at least for me, I felt very academically oriented, and I felt like I had a good idea about what I wanted to do. Almost maybe had too closed of a mind. So stuck very closely to what I felt comfortable with, which I think is fine as a freshman, when you're trying to make friends. But then ultimately, as I met more people down the line, I realized I actually made a career change as well. Realized that yeah, I wish I had been more open-minded about the things that I wanted to try, whether that be within the realm of finance or so I feel like I was playing a little bit of catch up in my later years of college, just because I was so like vehemently against a career in finance for some reason when I first came in. So just, branching out of your comfort zone, since odds are you probably won't stick with what you think you will like to do coming in.
Thank you, Claire. Anyone else?
I can add on a little bit. I definitely agree with what Claire said. Like just branching out and just kind of going out of your comfort zone is definitely, something you should do. Or at least college is the environment to do so if you ever want to. Like try anything new. For me, I was pretty similar. I was very kind of academic oriented. My goal going into college was to, grab a great job out of college. And so I naturally kind of focused a lot on the academic side, the recruiting side. And kind of as a side effect of that, didn't really get as much time to kind of branch out socially and get to kind of reach out to people and spend time in, communities or in social groups. So I freshman year I kind of had this like small group of friends that I would talk to, but it wasn't until kind of sophomore year when I had kind of the academic side of things kind of figured out that I decided to branch out. And once I did that, I realized it was just having a good group of friends that like are there to, one, support you, but two, also just like push you in every aspect of your life makes everything just way easier. So I would say like if I had to do it again, I would definitely just take more time and put more priority into building that social circle, building that good group of friends that will get you through college. So
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, friends are so important, especially in college. And I don't see any questions in the chat yet, but I really want to encourage you that if a question pops up in your head, if someone says something that makes you curious, and just go ahead and ask that question in the chat. Odds are other people would like to know the answer to that question as well. So I would really like to just see some interaction from the audience. All right. Okay, let's go into something more career related. So, how did you find your internships and job experience?
Okay. Yeah, I can speak on this. So, I'm in software engineering. So my first year, like our school had a career fair. Usually happens like in the fall one time and then in the spring one time. So you just like look out for probably like automated emails or something, or just like talking to your peers about whether a career fair is happening, and then you'll be like, I should join that. And so the first year was like COVID, so it was all on Zoom, but um, like the next year was like in person, and usually companies come to your campus and set up booths and stuff, and you can just like between your classes go hop in and talk to recruiters in person and give them your resume like paper in person. You can like print it out beforehand or whatever, like the old fashioned way. um and then if you're like a woman in computer science, there's something called Grace Hopper, or like GHC. And it happens every September, and it's a great way for like women in computer science to get access to job opportunities. And that's where I got like my second year's internship. So the first year was like the career fair from school, and then the second year was like the like Grace Hopper thing. And then, yeah, I think after that, I just like cold applied. And then sometimes it's just like based on, since you have like previous experiences, you'll probably have more success like doing cold applications just online. Yeah, I think that is how I got my jobs. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Miranda. And in the chat, I just echoed that Grace Hopper is a really awesome opportunity. And a good thing to look out for is it's possible your college will offer scholarships for you to attend. The ticket is kind of expensive, but at least for me and Miranda, University of Maryland was able to sponsor us for that. I see we have a question in the chat. So since it's related, let's go ahead and answer that. So did you have internships in high school that you felt helped in the college app process? And thank you, Lucy, for contributing that question.
Yeah, I can follow up if they want me to follow up. But I didn't do any like computer science before college. So or like I took AP Computer Science A at CB South, but that was like my extent of my exposure. I had one internship in like at the biotech center. It's like the Pennsylvania Biotechnology Center for like bio-related things. And so maybe that showed like my competency of like completing an internship in general, I guess, but it wasn't specific to computer science. But I think I kept it on my resume anyway, just like because you're a high schooler, right? If you're a freshman, you're coming in and like you don't have that much experience. So you want to put all that you got on there. So I feel like if you had internships in high school, whether they're computer science related or not, you can put them on your resume and it can help you.
Thank you, Miranda. Does anyone else want to add on to that?
Yeah, I can add on a little bit. During high school, I didn't do any internships like related to computer science or, the academic side, but I did participate in like a bit of a research program that I was able to learn some of the programming languages that I'm using now, like R and Python. And through that, I kind of gained an interest in CS, and that's where I'm using some of the topics I've learned like, in machine learning and those areas. And also, I want to kind of add on to your first question about how I find my internships during first year. Because of COVID, I didn't end up getting one, but there were still opportunities, with universities, just reaching out to a professor and being able to do some work as volunteer instead. So even though it might be like more difficult in first year to find an internship, there's still opportunities either in a company or with a professor. And then in my second year, I applied through career fairs and through LinkedIn, like Google, other job boards, and applied for areas in data science and also software engineering. And that's where I found my first internship. Also, I think the career fairs were a good chance to speak directly to a recruiter and develop a relationship that you can maybe use to contact that recruiter in the future or reach out with questions about a particular job position.
Awesome. Thank you, Ethan. Can we get an answer from Claire also?
Oh, yeah. So I will say, I don't think given that I think a lot of employers are hesitant to hire high schoolers and it's probably hard to get an internship. I feel like what you do doesn't even have to be directly related to what you apply for or want to study in college, as long as they're, transferable skills. So I was actually really humanities oriented in high school, was never like a big numbers girl. Did a lot of historical research and a lot of writing. So I ended up giving history tours at like the Mercer Museum. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's like a historical castle in Bucks County. And so I think what I got from that was like, oh, can you talk to people? Do you know how to sell something? Do you know how to find relevant information and present that in a compelling way? Which I think ultimately I sold myself as, like, to be a business student. So like it didn't have to be directly relevant, or like the job itself didn't have to be your major, but I think could still say a lot about you and your interests and how they're.
All right, thank you so much, Claire. All right, let's go on to a different question. So, was it hard to maintain a healthy lifestyle in college, and how did you do it?
I think for me, it wasn't too hard. So the school that I attend actually is quite big and there's a lot of hills. So as a result, like you're walking a lot more. So I think as a result of attending college in person, I did a lot more exercise naturally. So if anything, I became more healthier in going to college. However, I will say, my school has like really, really good food. So there's definitely like, especially in college, there's so much opportunity, at least with food. So going to the dining halls, the food's unlimited, or just going out to eat with friends. So I think in those areas, it is sometimes easy to get a little bit carried away with all the freedom that you have to, um, choose to eat healthier. However, like as you get into more of the rhythm of things, especially if you're on a campus, like walking around, I think they balance each other out. I think just being mindful when you go to college of leading a healthy lifestyle and not getting too caught up with your freedom. But personally, like I didn't find it like too difficult. And if anything, you're walking a lot more, and I think it's easier to live a healthier lifestyle, especially since also like a lot of people around you are like, gym bros or whatever. It's also helps you to do more of those things. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Can we move on to Caleb?
All right, yeah, to add on to that, so I think freshman year is a little bit different compared to your other years just because you just enter college. So I feel like at least for me it was COVID, but for most people, I think like freshman year you're just like in a new environment, you want to talk to more people, kind of just like hang out and try new things. So I think there's like the freshman 15, just like I don't know, like you can gain more weight or like just like eat out, have fun. So I think especially freshman year, um, I feel like it is harder to balance like sleep with like proper eating and things like that. But for me, I didn't really have that. But going into like my sophomore and junior years, the past 2 years, I moved off campus. So I had to sort of get my own food. I was off the meal plan, I was off the housing plan. So I think that was difficult initially to sort of get like a grocery schedule down or eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like proper, like proper meals. But I think it's really important to sort of like understand that in your own time, or if like you feel you have your own schedule compared to other people, just like really sticking to that schedule. Um, and I think with exercise, I realized after my freshman year that I wanted to be more active or really like make that part of my schedule. So I would try to play basketball or go on walks and runs with other people. And I think it's a great way to um, yeah, like or just like join different clubs, find new hobbies, and it is really important to be healthy, both physically, mentally, and yeah, balancing that out.
Yeah, thank you so much. Will?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to add on to what Caleb kind of said, especially towards the latter part, um, where he was talking about, finding different hobbies and doing different activities with other people. So yeah, that's really important, I guess in both the physical aspect and also like the mental health aspect, which is really important, right? Because like college can sometimes be really stressful with the amount of stuff that you have going on. So it's like really important to have like good outlets, where you kind of take your mind off of like school activities and also just are able to spend time with like people and just doing something fun. So like for me, my dance team was a really good outlet, because like basically like a few days throughout the week, like we had scheduled practices. And so that was just a really good opportunity for me to kind of get my mind off of schoolwork and also spend time with people that, I have a great time around, just doing something really different and creative. So I think, finding those activities that kind of bring you joy, and allow you to see other people is really important.
Cool. Thank you so much, Will. Yeah, mental health is so important. Amy, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, for me, I think carving out a portion of your day, for me, it was the morning to just, for example, eat breakfast, go to the gym, and sort of orient yourself to get ready for the rest of your day was really helpful. Just making sure that you're eating well in the morning, and then also finding friends to, for example, work out with in the morning can also keep you really accountable and make you feel like you have more energy for the rest of your day, since every day in college can seem very unique and different.
Yeah, thank you. Um, all right. So before we move on to the next question, it doesn't seem like Many people want to ask their own questions in the chat. So I just wanted to go ahead and ask people to maybe drop what they're interested in to like to study in college or what they might want to do after college, just so I can maybe better tailor a question towards the audience. But again, like questions are so welcome. And yeah, with that open invitation, I'm just going to go on and move to the next question. So, how did you handle difficult classes?
Yeah. Or is this like for the panel? Or I don't know if you were saying like.
Oh, this is for this is for the panel. This is for the panel. I'm just asking the participants, like the other people, to go ahead and just like tell us a little bit about themselves so I can maybe ask a question that's more tailored towards that.
Gotcha. So I can answer this question or okay, cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think at Maryland, like the TAs are really helpful. I think if you like pry them enough, they will give you the answer. So, but you don't want to, pry them too much because you also want to learn. So I was also for OTAs, but yes. So I feel like, you want to toe the line so that you're learning, but also you're not, but you're not struggling too much, but also you're not just getting the answer from like faculty. So yeah, I think if at least at Maryland, I think if you need the answer or if you like need help, I mean, you should just go to like a TA and they will like help you out with like office hours. And most of the time it's like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So it's or 9 to 6 sometimes. It's like it's crazy. There are always office hours going on for at least the lower level classes. And then as you get to the more advanced classes in your junior and senior years, the office hours that you're able to go to are, they lessen, but hopefully by then you've developed a skill set to, code and whatnot, or whatever your discipline is. So yeah. And then I think also taking classes with friends is always fun. Yeah. And then you can ask your friends for help if needed. But no cheating. I think that's I think like nobody cheats. Or at least like I feel like, yeah, within like friend circles, people are pretty good about like not actually cheating. But if you want to, ask for some help, people are gonna move you along. And, if you got like the same sort of thing for this answer or whatever, and like not talk about like the solution itself, but like around it or like how's this exam? Like, oh, it's easy. And you're like, oh, this is hard. Then it's like, okay, you're probably not on the but anyway, yeah. So at least that's my experience. Yeah, friends and TAs and sometimes a professor if you're, if you want to talk to the professor directly too. Some people are intimidated to go to the professor's office hours though. I don't know. So if you're intimidated or not intimidated, you can choose and pick whatever resource you want. I think those are all the resources I used. Yeah.
All right, well, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add. Miranda's answer was really good. I was gonna say, like, to an extent, you probably will just have to suffer with some other friends, like late into the night on some days. But no, there's definitely things you can do to alleviate, like the difficulty of like hard classes. Yeah, so like definitely asking questions, not being afraid, like when you're confused, and especially early on when you're working on like studying for something or working on like some piece set problem set. Just making sure that you go out to the TAs. Also something that was helpful for me is like I connected with at least like within my department, you know, upper level or yeah, upperclassmen. And then so like actually getting their help because they've gone through the classes and talking to them about for example, like I had a lab class um, where I had to like write up lab reports. And so then I would ask them for help about like how to like work through the lab. And the thing is, I couldn't necessarily cheat on it or anything because there's like data that you can't replicate. So you have to actually work with your own data. But like asking them for help on, how to actually go through the process of analyzing the data is really helpful. So like, yeah, going to those who've already kind of gone through the experience is also really good.
Yeah, thank you so much, Will. Uh, I also thought it might be helpful to bring up that, especially for like longer projects and problem sets, it's really good to start them early. I know it's really hard to want to start them early, but one, office hours can tend to get swamped around the due date, so it's possible you'll be waiting hours for someone to be available. But if you start it early, then there's like three free TAs to help you. So definitely take advantage of that resource. Uh, as someone who did TA one of the most heavily cheated classes, I will say that cheating can be somewhat rampant, but don't do it because like at least for the class I TA'd, it was really easy to tell if you cheated. So you don't want to risk it. It's also not just, it's just not good for your learning. And the consequences in college can be pretty rough for cheating. All right, let's move on to the next question then. Um, all right. What clubs were, I know we talked about what clubs we were in before, but if anyone wants to elaborate a little bit more about how that contributed to their experience in college, that would be great.
I can go. For me, I can talk more about the Asian sorority that I'm involved with. I think social clubs are often underestimated in how much, for example, like power you can leverage from like just the community around you. And so you can learn about a lot of jobs through upperclassmen who are in these communities. And you can also hear about the certain classes that you should take or you should maybe avoid if you can to not have that in your schedule. And so having communities where a lot of it is socializing, but also you can leverage the information that upperclassmen can provide you.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. Anyone else? And then we can go to some of the questions in the chat. All right. So let's just go ahead and answer. How do you balance social, school, and sleep schedule in college? I'll just drop that in the chat again.
You don't. No, I'm just kidding. I think it really is just, as easy as, you know, being intentional about it, right? Like if you want to have all three things, like it is possible in college. You do have that much time. But at the same time, it's very easy to, yeah, exactly, just like pick two and then let the other one just like slip away. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't think it's, there's any secret sauce to doing so and balancing these things as long as, you know, you, you go into college with, a plan just basically on, say I want to spend, this much time with friends. I want to, I have these goals when it comes to academics, and then um like I also want to get a certain amount of sleep at night. And I think as long as you have those, like there will obviously be times and periods where you have to make trade-offs and kind of give one up for another. But overall, I think like it's not something to be worried about unless you really just don't think about it. So
I think there is a secret sauce, and the secret sauce is called Google Calendar. At least I think, yeah. So you can have it all. Yes.
Yeah, for those of us that are less organizationally minded, um, for me at least, it was just being aware of what was going on in my life, and at least like just having some time to myself to reflect on how my life is going, and then realizing, hey, maybe I'm not doing too well in school. I need to pick that up, or maybe I locked myself in my room for 3 days to do work. And now I realize that I've neglected my friends. So for me, it was just about adjusting where I needed to. But yeah, Google Calendar is great. Definitely try to be more organized in college if possible. Uh, all right. If no one else wants to respond to that question, we can move on to the next one, which was how did you choose slash decide your major and what is the goal for your major? All right, anyone? Okay, go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, so I chose it based off of process of elimination. I didn't have like a love for a specific major, I'd say. I just kind of just I knew I didn't want to do like humanities, like no English or like history. I was between engineering and computer science, but I think what sold it for me was my teacher in high school. It's the same, I think Miranda mentioned like comp sci A, but the teacher there, he was really interested in sports, so I really enjoyed that class. It was a good environment to learn, and I really liked the logic and problem solving that computer science had. I felt that it wasn't like a specific answer, like a fixed answer in say like calculus or like another class. Like you could arrive at different um solution, like you could arrive at the same solution in different ways. So I think that's what I appreciated. Um, and I think in college, I was sort of hesitant to pursue like software engineering as a career. I think I was still open to different careers. Like I was pre-med for my fall semester as a freshman, and I realized it wasn't for me. But I think in choosing a major, my best advice is like even if you're unsure of what your major is right now, it's okay to go in undecided for like maybe your first year and sort of just be very open to learning from upperclassmen. So I joined the computer science club and learned a lot about like how to make a resume or like what a career looks like because career can be very different than school. So I think um, if you're looking to choose a major or if you're already chosen a major and you're still unsure, it's okay. And I think just being open to learning more about what you're interested in. And people change careers all the time as well, even after college. So yeah, that would be my advice for that.
All right, thank you, Caleb. So one of our panelists just joined. So let's welcome Kevin. And Kevin, if you could just introduce yourself with your name, major, graduating class, college, and then some activities you're involved in, and then a job if you've graduated. I just dropped that in the chat for you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Thanks, Susan. Yeah, sorry I'm late, but yeah, I'm Kevin. I am an accounting and finance major. I graduated last year, so class of 2023. I went to University of Maryland. And yeah, I guess on campus, one thing that I was pretty involved in was campus ministry called AIV. And then in addition, well, I'll be starting work in about a month. I'm going to be an audit associate at Deloitte.
Cool, thank you, Kevin. So the question that we're currently on is how did you choose slash decide your major and what is the goal for your major, if you don't mind answering that?
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. So for me, I think it's I didn't really have like something that I was super passionate about going to college, and I think that's something that people may feel pressured to do, like knowing exactly what they want to do right away. And just sorry if I repeat the other things the other panelists said, but yeah, I think so for me, I was just I kind of used what I was most interested in high school, like the classes. And for me, I took like an introductory accounting course, and I also really enjoyed economics. So yeah, I kind of settled in to knowing that I want to go into the business kind of direction. and I actually went in business undecided. So I don't know. I think most schools, you can go into like a specific field of major, but you don't have to like determine your, I guess, like specialization right away. So I think that is something you can take advantage of because you probably don't have to take any like of the upper level courses until like sophomore, junior year. But yeah, and then after that freshman year, I was able to kind of figure out that accounting was the way I wanted to go. And then I also tagged on finance since, it was pretty easy to double major within the business school. And yeah, I could say that I'm relatively satisfied with my major, but I think I heard someone else saying when I just joined, but yeah, plenty of people change their majors after even in like their junior year. So, and even some people take an extra year, which is totally fine. I think everyone kind of works at their own pace. It's really just fun, kind of, exploring, taking advantage of opportunities and finding out what you enjoy most. And then also, not to say that I think it's easy to say like, oh, go do whatever you want. Obviously there has to be some kind of realism or like make sure it's realistic goal. So keep that in mind as well, but definitely take your time in terms of finding out what you want to do most.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. All right, I see another question in the chat. I'm wondering if this is from a parent, but how often do you want to talk/message your parents? Do you feel regular communication with family is necessary? Weekly question mark. Or prefer using an as needed frequency? And anyone can just go ahead and unmute themselves.
I feel like I call my parents twice a week. I think Thursday night and Sunday night. It's not like actually in my brain like I'm supposed to call. It's just like whenever I feel like it's like a feel thing. Um, so yeah. Also like separately call my brother, I think way more frequently, probably maybe daily or something like that. But parents, maybe if I'm running into an issue and I need help, then I'll call my parents and consult them. But otherwise, maybe twice a week, 2 or 3 times. Or if you're like planning, like, coming home for Thanksgiving, like what's gonna happen, and then you can like call them and stuff if there's, as needed. So yeah.
Thank you, Miranda. Does anyone else want to speak on this?
Yeah, I want to say a few words. I think that's a really a concern for lots of parents. Because recently one of my friend, her son is going off to college, and she asked me, am I losing my my son, and are they going to call me? We're going to get a shift apart. So I comfort her because my son doesn't really take the initiative. He's on the panel to call me, but I told her that you can always call them. Like just text them, see what they're doing. Yeah, just schedules a time to talk. I think the kids always happy to talk to their parents. Like, yeah, I want to hear yeah, you guys share like yeah, anything that you can, because that's a really real concern. Because the parents miss you. I have 3, I miss them all. Every day.
Okay, Ethan, now we know what you need to work on, right? All right, thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely really important to keep communication with your parents, especially since they might not know what you're up to, or if you're even, still going to school and stuff. I don't know. They want to know what's going on in your life. So yeah, I am not really good at communicating with my parents either, unless they communicate with me. But I realize that it helps a lot to talk to them at least once a week.
Yeah, I can add on. I think luckily for me, I'm from Maryland and I went to the University of Maryland, so my parents are close by. But even then, like it's still sometimes easy to forget to just update them or even call them. But I think, yeah, definitely even maybe scheduling like a time, like every week at least to call or just talk. I think that could help in terms of getting like a schedule down so that you don't forget. But yeah, I think it's really important. Just I kind of regret not calling my parents as much. I mean, I went home a few times a week, which or a few times a month. Um, so that was nice to be able to see them, but I definitely think it's really important to maintain communication with your parents.
Cool. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Kevin. Oh, anyone else?
For me, I think freshman year there was probably less communication because I was trying to socialize and talk to people on campus. But for me, I call my parents, like even if it's just for like 10 to 15 minutes and I'm walking to class, I think they just like to hear your voice or hear just a little bit of what you're doing. It doesn't have to be too long. So I do it like maybe once every 2 days.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. I know you're super busy, so it's good to hear that even someone as busy as Amy can make time to go talk to her parents. Uh,
Yeah, I think yeah, Amy got the point. Yeah, parents that you don't have to talk to us like for long period of time. Like you just update us, like say you're okay, what you're doing. Hi mom, hi dad. Yeah, that's we want to hear from you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for your responses. And I'm just thinking maybe some of the audience would like to ask some questions. So remember, again, just feel free to drop it in the chat. But while we're waiting for all of your questions to come in, let's go into another question, which is how did you manage stress, especially during exam week? All right, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I mean, so kind of echoing what I said earlier about, just having outlets. But I guess, especially for exam week, you're gonna be busier just because you have the pressure of oncoming tests. But I think something that really helped with me, is having like a study group and then also having um like friends that can kind of support you along the way. So like something that I like to do with one of my best friends, so we would both like be studying like near each other in the library, but we made it a point not to like completely burn ourselves out. So it's not like you just like push until the point like like your brain feels like it's about to like melt. um like we would work for a certain extent and then we would like go on a walk, like maybe just like around like a courtyard, and then talk for a little bit and then just get our mind off of things. And then we would go back to working. So at least for me, that's something that really helped. Like so like learning to take like good, like healthy, effective breaks, where you really just don't think about like you're studying for a moment, and then that helps with resetting.
Thank you, Will. And that's also a really good tip for when you start working. I take breaks frequently, and that's something that was heavily stressed during my onboarding, since your brain does need a second to just like relax. Uh, does anyone else have an answer to this one, or should I move on to the next question?
I think one small thing is if you know that you can be addicted to things such as games or other things that you can like cut out for just like 1 or 2 weeks, I would recommend doing that just because um it's because like delayed gratification, like priorities, given like you have 1 week for an exam. I think it's just really important to if you know you can get distracted and it's easy to do that, just like focus on studying or grades. But also like I really want to echo Will's point on like taking breaks and not studying nonstop because that's the recipe for disaster. And also get enough sleep during that week as well. And make sure you can eat regularly, just because that's almost as important as the actual studying to make sure you're in the right place to like take the exams and like do the projects well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Caleb. For those of us who game, it is a good time to take a break from your games during exam week. All right, so let's go on to the question that T dropped in the chat, which is, has your high school prepared you well for college? And for this question, if you could just also state what high school you attended, that would be great.
I can go. I went to CB South, and I think for a lot of intro classes in college, they also write an AP equivalent or sort of like a class in high school that you took that might resemble sort of a prerequisite for taking certain courses. So that was helpful. Harvard also made us take a math sort of placement exam where they gave you tailored recommendations based off of your score. And then I think for intro classes too, there is a lot more support from professors and TAs and upperclassmen. And so I felt like there weren't too many barriers when transitioning from high school to college.
Thank you, Amy. I think a lot of us went to South, and I also went to South, and I felt like South prepared me pretty well.
So were
Yeah,
you
I'd like
able to
to
use any of your AP classes for credit in college?
I personally was able to. So we need 120 credits to graduate, and I came into college with 47.
Yeah, I was also able to use around 40 or so credits. And for those like introductory lab science courses, I didn't have to take for my major. But one difference I would say going into college from high school was there was a lot more, I guess, emphasis on being proactive yourself in studying some of the material and reaching out for help. So if you're not used to doing that, it can be helpful just to keep that in mind that there are professors and TAs that are always able to help, and to also find like some the intrinsic motivation of why you're taking classes and uh, what you are interested in taking your major or your classes. I think will help you as opposed to high school where you're kind of just taking the classes you're required to. In college, you get to really explore which classes or major you're interested in, and that can really help you sort of keep up in your classes and not lose motivation or interest.
I could speak a little bit on this question too and on AP exams. So I went to CBUS, and at least for my school, I go to UCLA. Generally, AP exams didn't really help that much in terms of credit. It could help you get out of some very basic intro classes, so some math courses, but it doesn't get you out of any like general education classes or anything like that. So only specific ones are helpful. And then in terms of how high school prepared me for college, I think generally CBUS prepared me pretty well. I think my first year, like transitioning into college, like I didn't find the content that difficult. Um, yes, like college is a little bit more independent and you have to be more proactive in getting help if you need help. Another thing that I would also say is that in high school, you tend to have like a lot of exams for like a lot of tests and stuff for each class. So there's generally some room for error. So you could like not do as well as one on one exam, but then do well on the other ones and still get like an A in the class. But in college, at least for my school, it just tends to be like two midterms, one final. And if you do bad on one of them, that will kind of affect your whole grade. So there is a lot less room for error, but if you prepare well for these tests, I think in terms of actual content, like I didn't find it too much, too difficult or too much of a transition. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And just to echo Melody real quick, at least in high school, most homework was required, but in college there will be like recommended problems and sometimes optional homework. And it's really easy to not want to do it, but I think it's really helpful for understanding the problems better. And if anyone in the audience doesn't attend a CB school, just go ahead and drop what school you are from in the chat and we'll see it. We might have someone else who goes there. All right, so moving on to the next question. Can you get into some details on how do you prepare for your interviews, for your internship or job? All right, go ahead, Claire.
I think the number one best resource for that would just be upperclassmen. I think in your clubs and those that you meet throughout, because they've been through the exact same thing. Odds are, if you meet them through your major, they probably went through the exact same interview and know the questions as well. So I honestly think that's the most efficient way to go about things and the most effective. Honestly, chances are they probably work there too. So, a little bit of a nepo moment. I'm kidding, you shouldn't do that. But also, I feel like if you look up the job questions online, there are like a million resources out there. So it's always been very predictable. And I feel like it's hard to get a curveball in many instances if you prepare.
Thank you so much, Claire. Will?
Yeah, I mean, Claire's point was really good, and I think kind of going off of that, so yeah, upperclassmen really good, and then also it can be kind of intimidating right when you get into college, but you'll realize like more and more that the more you expand your network and like talk to alumni, it's really helpful. Yeah, because like maybe they have a lot of professional experience, and then also at the same time they might actually be working at the firm you're applying to, and that just makes it known that you're applying to that company. I would also say, so like right now I'm preparing for some consulting interviews. So something like specific to consulting interviews is you do something called a case. So you work with the interviewer through like a certain like kind of like business problem. Um, so you know, you need a case partner when you're preparing for those interviews. So actually having friends who can sit down with you and maybe do like mock interviews is also really helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will. Anyone else?
Yeah, adding on to the like mock interviews for those also apply for like CS careers because in my junior year, one thing that really helped was working with a group and having one person be the interviewer and another person receive the question and try to talk through the coding response that they would give in an interview. And this prepares, I think, you pretty well because you're basically put in the situation, and the interviewer can also learn from it by learning to improve upon your coding abilities and also providing feedback.
Cool. Thank you so much, Ethan. Um, Also, I think a good thing to note is don't be shy about asking for referrals from friends or people you know. At least in tech, I know that nearly like every successful referral means that the person who refers gets a referral bonus, so it helps both of us. So don't be shy. Ooh, this is a really good question. How many job/internship applications do you send out on average?
I can take this one. So my freshman year, going into my freshman to sophomore summer, I applied to 30 internships and I got none. But I ended up taking a class, like a CS class over the summer instead. So I feel like the first summer after your freshman year, it doesn't really matter too much. It's more just like getting practice with how to apply. Sophomore year to junior year. Also, I'm a CS major, so like software engineering internships is what I was applying to. Sophomore to junior year, I applied to 285 and I got one offer. So that was just a mix of like not getting too many like I only got maybe around like 10 to 15 hits like the companies got back to me for interviews. And then the interviews themselves, it took me a while to get used to communicating. And at least for tech, you have to sort of talk about your coding solution on the spot. So it can be very difficult at first to get used to. Um, and this past summer, I applied to 80. So I guess like 20 to like 280 plus and then 80 for me. So on average, that was, but it really depends on your major as well. And I know for other careers, like for CS, it takes like 5 minutes to apply and like people kind of just like cold reject you. But then like for other careers, like maybe for other people can speak to that, like you may not have as many like applications, but like you put in a little bit more effort on the application itself. So yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, I think the
Okay.
hardest part is just getting your first internship. When I was a freshman, my first offer was a nepotism offer, but it got rescinded due to COVID. And then I had to send out another 200 applications to get my other offer for freshman year. And then after that, another 200 applications my sophomore year. And then my junior year, since I had two internship experiences, I was able to be a little choosier. So I applied to about 60 places and got three offers. And then as a new grad, this was a really tough hiring climate, but I had four internships already. So again, I just applied until I got offers, but it wasn't too bad for me simply just because I had so much experience before. So I got three offers and around 40 applications. And I'm also a CS software engineer. Oh, I think Melody, before you wanted to speak on this.
Oh yeah, I could speak a little bit. So I'm not like CS, so I'm a data theory major, so I was looking more at like data science, data analyst internships. So last year, I started a little bit late in the process because I'm quite lazy and not proactive sometimes. So I started applying after during winter break essentially, so around like December-ish internships, and I basically like applied to wherever it seemed like was still hiring for interns at that moment. And I think I'm not exactly sure what the number is, but I applied to a lot. I applied to I think around 20 to 30 places, and I got one interview, and I actually got that offer. But I did get another internship through nepotism and ended up taking that one instead. But essentially, I think getting your foot in the door, getting to that interview is hard. Sometimes, especially when you don't have a lot of experience, you're earlier in your college career rather than later. But I will say, like, once you get that interview, like, that is your opportunity to really like nail down that offer. Because resumes, it's just like, screening, like, oh, you might pass these thresholds, we'll interview you. But interviews are where you could really, get to know about the company better and also really sell yourself. So I think going back to like that interview question before, like, with interviews, like making sure that you're preparing well, you're practicing well, and I think also having a lot of confidence and just selling yourself to the employers. Like those are your times to shine. So that is really important, especially with jobs, because so much other people with similar skills are applying to the same jobs and internships.
Thank you so much, Melody, for sharing your experience. Does someone not in tech want to respond to this?
I could share a bit. Yeah, so like I said, I'm an accounting major, so yeah, my interview, or I think within the accounting field, it's a little different in that there's a bit more, I guess, demand in terms of like um accountants or like internships for that. Like it's not, I don't think it's as challenging. So I sent nowhere near as much as many of these other talented individuals. But Yeah, I think definitely in terms of like the interviews, I think it's just really about just effectively communicating and not being too nervous. I think it's very easy to get I don't know, intimidated, but it's just another person at the on like either through a Zoom or like in person. But regardless, you're just talking to another person, you're just having conversation. And I think it's important to be authentic and just natural in the way you present yourself. And I think that way it is more relaxing for you, and also the interviewer can also kind of tell that you carry yourself in a more calm or just collective manner. But yeah, I think in terms of applying for internships and stuff like that, like it can be challenging to do. I also started late some years, so I think you just really need to get started and try to send out just as many as you can, but also don't burn yourself out, and also don't feel like discouraged if you get rejected. I think it's very natural. Everyone I'm sure here has been rejected from something that they've applied for, but it's just about continuing to push forward and move on to the next one, and then yeah, your hard work will pay off.
Thanks, Kevin. Will?
Yeah, I don't want to like take too much time on this, but I guess like expanding on what's been said, well, so like with industry, like private industry based internships, like obviously there's nuances for the industry you're applying into, but like they won't vary too much overall. Um, Something that I could speak to is like if you're potentially interested in research and like academia, so like if you want to get like a PhD or something like that later on, because that's what I was thinking for a bit. Um, so usually the way that goes is you just do a lot of research basically for your summer like opportunities. So a really big thing is if you want to go like the more research based route, you apply to something called REUs, which are research experiences for undergrads. And basically, you just have to keep like you just search them up, and they're on like government websites, and then you just keep track of like the deadlines for those. Usually, they're around like January or February every year. And then so those are like research opportunities at like national labs or other universities to do research with some faculty. Um, and also like in building up your, I guess like your resume for those types of programs, um, it's helpful to do research at your school. And a really good way to do that is to either just like look at like certain research programs that your school sponsors, or just like reaching out to faculty. Because a lot of times they'll be willing to give you like a spot in their lab to work on whatever research project.
Cool. Thank you so much, Will. Um, yeah, there was a question about how we were able to find the companies that offer internships. I dropped a link in the chat, which is Levels FYI, for anyone who's interested in tech. There's that internships list, and you can just apply straight from there, or you can just search up the company and go to their careers page. I know that there's also like a really good Pit repo that has like a lot of different companies and their links. And otherwise, you can go on LinkedIn, Google. There's a lot of really great places to look for internship opportunities. If anyone has anything to expand on that, just feel free to drop links in the chat. And let's move on to this question, which is, can everyone share what's your favorite club in college and why?
I can get started. So I'm in a Christian fellowship at UCLA called Graceland Campus. And that's my favorite club in college, mainly because like my faith is really important to me. And just being in a place with like-minded individuals of the same faith and just having fellowship together, that has been just really good experience for me in college. And also is where my main community lies. Most of my friends and people that I'm closest to in college are in this club, and just been a great time to just share in faith together and also just have fun with each other. And yeah.
Thanks, Melody. Anyone
I
else?
can also I don't know, double down on that. I'm also part of a campus ministry called AIV. It's actually where I met Susan. Um, and yeah, I think just a little background on me. I'm from Maryland. I don't think many of you know me. But I actually didn't grow up in a Christian household. And I joined AIV my junior year. So that's actually where I came to faith. And I think, I don't know, it's just really special having a group of brothers and sisters who I think are really, I think one thing that separates it from like other social orgs is just I think the closeness and the like authenticity of everyone. I think I've really felt cared for and supported. Um, and I think, yeah, having that really, helped me make my way through those last 2 years of college. Especially after coming back from COVID, it was really hard to find community. Um, so yeah, I think having just, people to support you and yeah, just walking faith with you really goes a long way, not only in your own spiritual growth, but also yeah, and just making your way through difficult times in college because there will be some. So yeah, definitely recommend joining ministry.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Would anyone else like to speak?
My favorite club on campus is club tennis. It's really fun. We have practices on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. Sometimes when it's winter, you have to do the indoor courts. So it's really fun. And on the weekends, we go to other schools to compete. So it's like weekend trips we've gone to, or the ones that I've gone to are like, I think UVA, George Mason, American University, which is in DC, William and Mary. I think there's something West Virginia, I can't remember, but it's a really good way to like get really close with people because you stay with them at a hotel and fool around. But yeah, I think a lot of close friends from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Miranda. Will?
Yeah, I mean I mentioned it a few times. So I don't want to harp on it too much, but like my dance team was my favorite. So I did a lot of clubs throughout my 4 years, but then that was like one of the few that I like settled on and stuck with for 4 years. So yeah, it was just a really great creative outlet, and I didn't have formal dance training before entering college. So it was really good to be in that and really get to express myself and like try out different dance styles that I would have never actually considered like trying out before. And it was a really good group of people to be around because everybody was super welcoming and supportive. So yeah, I just, I am a little biased, but I definitely recommend trying out maybe like a performing arts or some type of arts-based organization, especially if you never had like a lot of experience in it before.
Cool. Thank you, Will. Would anyone else like to share? Also, Will, you
Uh,
should drop a link to a dance video or something.
Yeah, I'll drop a link for our YouTube channel.
Let's go. Okay, Ethan, go ahead.
yeah, so I joined the video game development club during my first year, and it was like thing I was always interested in because I played games before, and it's kind of an area that's hard to learn on your own. So having the club be able to teach like some of the game engines and how to code really helped, and working on the project and being able to present it at the end of the semester also helped to learn many useful skills that I use in like probably in my career and also just in general working on projects on my own.
Awesome. Thank you, Ethan. If no one else wants to talk about that, we can move on to another question. But again, audience, feel free to drop your questions. Okay, so let's. Okay, so for new grads, what was your favorite part of college and what do you miss the most? Not related to your club, since we talked about that.
I can share on this one since I've been out of college for quite a while now. I think the thing I miss the most definitely is just the proximity to people that um, are, similar age to you and kind of potential friends. That is something that only exists within like a campus, right? So, for me, like in Austin, like yeah, you have like what 50,000 people that are the same age as you, and that means that it's really easy to find people that share your same interests or have your same goals and that you can become friends with, right? But once you kind of move out of that college bubble into at least when I started working, like I found it was very different once you kind of start working full time. If you move to a different city, um, finding friends one is a lot harder just because there's just not that many people that are similar age to you that are around, as well as like it's also you're physically separated as well by distance. So it takes more effort to hang out with those friends and maintain those relationships as well. So I think that's something I definitely miss. Just being able to just call up friends whenever I want to, and whenever you have free time, just like to be able to go next door or whatever and hang out and act like monkeys. You can't do that anymore once you're out of college. So I would say definitely take advantage of that opportunity over those 4 or 5 years or whatever that you're in college.
Thanks, Dan. I want to
Yep.
be really respectful of everyone's time. So I know we're getting close to the 9:30 mark, and I just wanted to ask if anyone has any closing thoughts. Um, Anything that you think that the high schoolers should really hear. Oh, we have a great question, which is, could you share your study abroad experiences?
Yeah, I can go. So I studied abroad last semester in Singapore. Um, it was really good. I highly recommend everyone I think should study abroad. Yeah, it was, yeah, I went to NUS. I went to NUS. Oh, Claire just said that to me. Yes. Sorry for exposing Claire. Yeah, it was great. I went to National University of Singapore for like 6 months from January to May. Um, I took two CS classes and two like random Singapore classes. So I took 16 credits. I was involved on campus, I did tennis. I did some other things too, like random sports and random things. I think it's not like the normal flow of just like school. You make a lot of, I did like random things, so many random activities. But yeah, and then on the weekends, and my schedule is just like during the week, it's like during the morning slash afternoon, you go to classes, and then at night, you can like do all these random activities. Like, and then on the weekend, you just like fly out to like wherever. So I had like 9 countries that I went to. So like every other weekend, I was going places. And I had two friends who I studied abroad with, and they were my close friends. So we just like plan our trips together and stuff. And I did some solo traveling, but most of the time I was with like those two friends. I solo traveled to Korea and Japan, and I think those are like safe places to solo travel to. Um, yeah, don't know what else I would, yeah, highly recommend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miranda. Okay, Caleb?
Yeah, like one thing to end on, I think is I feel like for me, most importantly, was to find a good support system, just a very solid group of people that you can rely on and trust on. And even if like you do find yourself in different friend groups throughout college, or just like you may feel like things aren't going as smoothly as you want them to be. I think just making sure you have those outlets, you have people that you can trust, like it can be family, friends, wherever, like whatever's out there. But yeah, college is not a steady line. I feel like there's many ups and downs, and I think um I feel, yeah, you can reach out to any of us. I feel I go to Pitt, so like in state, hail to Pitt represent. So yeah, if you want to reach out to me or anyone else, I'm sure we would all love to like share it with you or help you out.
Oh yeah, feel free to connect with me on like LinkedIn or Facebook or something.
Um, this is, I guess, for people who might be going to college this year, but call your parents just because I think college is a transition for you, but it's also a big transition for your family. And I think your parents would really appreciate hearing from you semi-regularly as you sort of make this transition to becoming more independent.
And Amy is suddenly every parent's favorite now. Thank you so much, Amy. That's so important. All right. Any other closing thoughts? All right, well, you can feel free to drop them in the chat. But again, I just want to thank our panelists so much for taking time out of their busy schedules and being able to speak with all of us. And thank you so much to everyone for showing up. We've really loved hearing your questions. I hope that this session has been productive and helpful for you. And again, see, everyone is offering our contacts up, so just feel free to message any of us. Feel free to connect with us, and we hope that you have the best college experience. All right, I'll pass it off to Ethan's mom.
Hey, thank you, everyone. That was a great discussion. Yeah, I learned a lot. Thank you very much. I guess in the future, if you feel like you have specific topic you want to share with us, you can always reach out to me. It doesn't have to be a group. And if you're an expert in certain field, I believe you will be in the near future. So CBCA is always welcome you back and share with our members and our younger generation kids. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. So if that's it, then I will stop the recording now, and I will if you're just trying to like look at everyone's like LinkedIn and stuff, then I will just leave the session up for a little bit longer. But to the panelists and everyone, feel free to drop off whenever you'd like.